Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another player interview. This time I have a very special guest, Nguyen, who had a very excellent weekend. So I'm just gonna let him introduce himself and tell us about it.
Hi, so my name's Nguyen, from Card Game Coliseum down in Orange County. So I played Shenron. The event was pretty fun. Went full 8 rounds. It's of Swiss. Only one loss to Brian, which is unfortunate because I lost him in finals as well. But it was overall a pretty fun event. But yeah.
Awesome, man. That's pretty ironic. I didn't know you guys like faced each other in Swiss and then again in the finals. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it's funny because the only person I actually misplayed against throughout the whole 2 tournaments was only against Brian. It was I don't know what it was, but he was the only person I managed to misplay against both times.
Dang, yeah. Sometimes they say that like players in this game have like a kryptonite, like someone you could just never beat. But I'm sure that you'll eventually get him back in another finals. But anyways, so I'm curious, what made you want to take this deck to this event? Obviously, Nationals is the big one. This is the one everyone trains for, and you want to probably take the strongest deck you feel to the event. So why this deck?
So normally, so I'm like most of the time I'm a red Pasadena with Pan, but I feel like with the drop of Kaioken and stuff, in like Shenron and stuff, I just wanted a better matchup versus like any of the Shenron decks or red green, because when I was playing Pan, I had problems versus like red green, but also Shenron now, which wasn't the case before, ever since Kaioken dropped, because you could deal with like the Vegetas and stuff, but when it comes to Kaioken giving it crit or anything like that, or just them ripping your negates, sometimes it's just auto lose if you don't have any negates in your life.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes you really rely on picking those up off of off the life, and that's one of the things about this deck. I mean, I think that this is probably going to get touched on the ban list. I can ask you your opinion on this actually after, but I do think this is going to be one of the decks that's touched on the ban list because it's a type of deck that puts your opponent on a clock, and it's kind of like if you don't really kill me by a certain turn, you're kind of dead. So do you think this deck is going to be, or the strategy in general is going to be touched by the ban list? Do you think it's worth it?
Yeah. So I think the biggest problem with the deck is just objection. Like, I don't see world peace being that bad, because if you really think about it, like, objection is the reason why I can world peace. And so if you really think about it, without objection, if you go through 4 turns and just world peace once for like a Whis, that's not really much of a turn. That's like 4 turns. That's like for a whole deck, that's like a game-winning like whole strategy, like win before 4 turns or 5 turns. It's just too slow.
I could agree with that for the ramp version. My only qualm with that is that the typical Shenjita variant with like just fusing into Gogeta, giving a triple attack, with World Peace bringing out Shenron Figure of Majesty, I feel like that would still be a little problematic because turn 5 is still like a very feasible win condition for that turn. You know what I mean?
True. I think one thing with that too is that so like before, I think just like the Gogeta part is, to me, is obviously like Gogeta and Kaioken very, very good and broken cards, but I feel like if that was the case, it would give decks like Pan and stuff, like a little bit more of like an extra winning chance, But
I can definitely agree with that. Like if you're extending the life of the game by even 1 turn, that definitely gives a lot of other decks a room to work. I can definitely agree with that. But I think we can do this in like another type of video where we kind of debate on ban list. But let's get into the decks. I think people want to hear about that. So we'll go through it. I'm sorted through cost right now. So the 2 buttons, the 6 Dragon Balls makes tons of sense, and then the 1 Super Dragon Ball. So did you not like 1-star ball?
Yeah, so me and my friends, Donnie, Nguyen, and some other people, we're just going back and forth with this. We were testing 1-star ball at first, but against like all these aggro matchups, I don't want to be tapping out turn 1. I want to leave that mana open so I can either get something and drop or stop like a 8 coming out or just anything like that. And with the 1-star ball, I felt that if you didn't do it turn 1, it would progressively just get worse and worse after each turn you didn't do it. And now with like Zelda and stuff, I feel perfectly fine just casting 2 for Super Dragon Ball at like 4 mana or even 3 mana. in any case.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And a lot of people also mentioned to me that one star ball is really bad in the mirror match because you're giving your opponent
Hmm.
basically a free discard. So you don't really want to be doing that. So I can definitely see where you would just play 6 regular balls and the 1 super ball. And then Desperate Measures in the main deck. So this is a card that I feel like people like either love it or hate it. In my opinion, it's only really good against Topo. Which is like, you know, the main thing I want to use this card against. I don't like it against like Vegeta the Cruel because I can just use it later. But so explain to me why this is in the main deck and what the main applications were.
So the main thing was for Universe 6 because
Okay.
so Universe 6, their turn 1 is pretty mild. It's like just 1 drop, maybe swing if they're not on the play. But their turn 2 is where it kind of hurts because their turn 2, they have the possibility of like dropping you super low, and then the following turns are just going to get more difficult and difficult. Because usually their turn 2 is 2 drop Kale into like Khalifa, tap your mana, and then they go into like or just whatever variation of how they're trying to order it. But if you just stop their turn 2, most likely they're just going to swing once or twice and then just pass. So you're just saving extra life in the main deck, or by playing it in the main deck. But also it's also for yellow Champa too, because game 1 against like all these blue yellow decks, they are main decking the yellow Champa to answer the Gogeta. But it's just so I can finish my opponent faster without having to just like play Gogeta, they tap it, and I pass. Like I just want to summon Gogeta, stop their Champa, and then just kill him that turn. I don't want to give him any extra turns, basically.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, in a ramp version where you have all that excess energy, that makes a lot of sense. And I want to ask you another question about anti aggro, because this is one of the things that I kind of felt like Shenron players. I'm really curious why this was like no Striving Goku, no Crisis Crusher in most of the deck lists. I mean, it seems like a card that's really good against like Sankaba, 2 drops, stopping the Kales from attacking. So I'm curious from your point of view why Crisis Crusher and Striving just kind of don't seem to be the way anymore.
I think just because people are, I don't know. I feel like it's a card that's better to have than not have. For me, it just kept going in and out. Like I wanted to put something like else inside, but like I just felt like Striving was just better to have than not have. And then the Crisis Crusher for me was just like a last second call. I could have put it in, but I didn't. But I really wish I did had put it in. Both ways, I think it's better to have than not have. I just think people, I guess, look at the meta and then just determine that it's like maybe it's not good for all this, but against all these tech cards and stuff, Crisis Crusher deals with all the like these 1-drop tech cards like Corvus, Mass Saiyan and stuff. It's like it deals with all that. So I definitely would have. I think people maybe just like didn't like it at first, and then maybe they realized after that they would have wanted it.
Yeah, I agree. I was just curious because like one of Red's main win conditions against Shenron is like Sankaba, so I was kind of curious what your thoughts on that were. But we'll get back into the deck list. So typical stuff with the objection, super combos, and then you have 3 Ultra Instinct Goku and 3 at all cost Vegeta. So you have a very, very valid way to fuse into Gogeta 7. Did that come up like a lot of the time? Like I know if you're going second in the mirror match, you really want to fuse into Gogeta to set your opponent behind. So would you say that was like a really necessary play you had to make a lot of the time?
Yes, because it also goes in combination with, I'm pretty sure the other card that you're going to see is with the 5-drop Shenron.
Yep.
So I'm not sure if you want me to go further into that together.
Yeah. If there's like a combo, you can definitely talk about it now. That's cool.
So generally, turn 2, you're either going to do an objection or a Super Dragon Ball. So by turn 3, you should be awakened already. And the following turn, which is turn 3, if you objection again, you should be at 5 mana, or you do a combination of like the Super Dragon Ball objections. But the main point is you get the 5 mana, you have a Shenron in your drop area, you activate the Wish Leader, so you use the World Peace, play the Shenron for free. Now you have, you play the 5-drop Shenron, you draw 2 cards, and you untap 4 mana.
Yep.
Now you untap 4 mana, now you have a total of 5 mana, which you can, Union Fusion on turn 3 against like almost any deck, but mainly for mirror match, because if you do that in mirror match, you're most likely going to win the game.
So the main purpose of the Shenron 5-drop was to have the advantage in the mirror match, right?
That, but also for aggro too, because I think what people are too focused on when they play Shenron is just playing all these big bombs, but not much survivability. Because if you like, there's no point in playing big bombs if you can't get there, right? So with the Shenron, just against aggro, I do it almost every game. Like Shenron the was like the star of the deck basically for me.
So you kind of give like anything triple strike and then just kind of go in, or what?
No. So mainly I use it just for defense. I use it just to, so like if I know I can't finish off my opponent that turn, I'm just gonna build up my hand, leave 4 mana open, and I have a free 10k combo on board. It's just generating me like such a huge hand size, and just combo power in my hand or negates or just defense basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you look at it this way, if you use it to untap 4 and it's a 10k combo, that's basically a pseudo combo that drew you 2 cards, which is definitely really solid against aggro. And I really got to ask you, 1 Whis in the main deck and 1 Trunks in the main deck. Only 2 ramping cards, especially 1 Whis, because a lot of people play 3, so I need to hear you talk about that.
Yeah, so I felt like in my version of the deck, ramping wasn't too important. I just needed to get to 5 mana, because once I get to 5 mana, my survivability just goes like way up. Like I just have too many cards in hand. Like almost every game, if I do double objection and Super Dragon Ball turn 3, whatever it is, and I play Shenron, I'm usually having around like 13 cards in hand to like defend, and then I just gradually just keep doing the Shenron play over and over until I get to 7 mana. So basically, the Shenron just buys me those turns that I could be ramping, because I feel like if you ramp, it leaves you vulnerable to like just like your counters being negated by Cooler, because you usually have like 1 or 2 mana open. But just having that defense of having extra mana and extra card draw.
Gotcha. And then
over the ramp.
Gotcha. And then the 1 Shenron figure, Majesty, and no Purunga in the 65, it looks like. So, did you ever feel like you missed Purunga, or was there like a main reason you didn't include it?
So I really loved Purunga at first. It was a really great card at first, but I just felt like my main deck was just too tight. And also my side deck too. I just felt like it was too tight, and I felt like I didn't need it, which which never came up. So I never needed it, fortunately, but it just came up to space, like what space I needed, and then what the cards I put in. I just felt like these had to come first before the Purunga.
Gotcha. And yeah, like playing a Nats, like going against a lot of Shenron and Nats, it felt like Gogeta 5 was almost just a better Purunga, because I would put like maybe 3 or 4 battle cards in the board, and then they would just Gogeta 5 me, bounce 2 of them back to the bottom, and then attack 1 of the battle cards. So it was almost like basically as good as Purunga. Like, did you feel like the same experience?
Yeah, very, very much the same. And even then, like even with like the hand defense I'm getting, I just need to defend that 1 or 2 turns after my turn 3, and I just play Whis or Trunks, and I'm at like 7 mana already, and I can bring out a bomb. So that's like the main thing there.
Gotcha.
Either the Shenron or the Gogeta play. It's one of those 2 I always make.
Gotcha. So we'll go over to the side deck. We got the 2 Weskai for the Apes. Now, tons and tons of Shenron players put this in their main deck. Did you ever consider that? Did you feel like you didn't need it?
I felt like I didn't need it in main deck, because I feel like all the yellow Broly players would be playing around it already. Because like most games I was playing, people who went into the turn 2 just swung and then either played a 1-drop or passed. So most of the times I just felt like Weskai, being Weskai already is already doing its job, whether it's in my main deck or not, because people are just respecting it too much.
Right, just the threat of it.
Yeah.
And then the remote Sirius Bomb. So what was the main application of that card?
Just for Baby and Green Broly, just removing their big guys, or just double removal with like Gogeta combinations, or any variations removal, just to clear.
Gotcha. And then we got a lot of the 1-drop stuff, so like Dark Power, Black Mass Sand, Kami, Striving. So these are all, silver bullets in different matchups. Did you ever consider siding the Assemble package? Because, a lot of people that side these 1-drops or 2-drops, they do sideboard Assemble. I know you mentioned your list is pretty tight. Did you ever start with Assemble in there, or no?
Yes. So it did start with Assemble, but it just came down to the space, obviously. But I felt fine just like hard casting the Son Goku Striving, because of Shenron 5. Shenron 5 opens up 4 mana for you, so hard casting, Son Goku leaves you with like 3 extra mana. So like there's like I don't need to free wish for a striving at any point, and I just felt like it wouldn't do that much because I have the other side cards in there too, which you'll probably go over.
Yeah, definitely. This My Graceful Tactician we've got to talk about. So I'm going to read it real quick because people might not know what it does. When you combo this card, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, whenever it costs one, of one specifically, and place it at the bottom of the owner's deck, and it's a 1 energy combo. So why did you decide to include this card in your side deck?
So this card, mainly shouts to Donnie for recommending this card. We were just talking over just like how to deal with aggro, like how do we survive these turn 1s, turn 2s, turn 3s. And I think the main thing is just the surprise factor of my, because so many decks, like they're playing like Kavas, and like all these red decks are playing Kavas. They're trying to hit you so much at any point, because they know by the time I get to like my Gogeta turn, they're losing their whole hand anyway, so they're just gonna dump everything on Kavas.
Right.
So if they dump everything on Kavas, if I just combo 1 mana and play the Mai, tuck it, I don't have to lose any life. I don't lose hand advantage at all. All I did was just combo Mai.
Right, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I mean, do you feel like Crisis Crusher would have been better in this spot, or do you feel like Mai was just the better choice?
In some scenarios, I did wish I had Crisis Crushers, like in the finals match, where I couldn't deal with Burgos and I couldn't deal with Massian. But so over here, we test a lot against Baby too, and the main thing we didn't put it in was just because Baby would just take a life and just pop it.
I see.
And I think that kind of influenced our opinions on our sideboard. So yeah, that's why we didn't put in the Crisis Crusher, which I obviously wish I had.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, like, obviously most of your testing is gonna come from locals for the most part, so like that type of bias can definitely influence. But I mean, you still obviously had an amazing finish, second place, so don't beat yourself up too much. And then the King Vegeta and the Awakened Power Victory Strike, obviously like a hand-in-hand kind of combo. Why not in the main deck? Why just in the side deck?
I just felt like so these two cards are mainly for Janemba and Toa, which I already feel like I have a good matchup against already. Like, as long as I just play it right, like set up Vegeta 7 first, and then next turn into Kaioken, I'm gonna win every single time. But with the King Vegeta and Son Goku, I just felt like it was just better inside. Like, I didn't need it. It just felt too extra for me. So I was like, I'd rather just run a super consistent defensive deck than just, have these two cards that just, make it extra, like super extra. It's just, I felt like it was too extra.
Gotcha. So overall, that's a 65. Again, congratulations on an amazing finish. One final question. So me and you, I think both are expecting this deck to receive a hit in some way. So moving forward, what decks are you thinking about potentially playing? Like either in set 8 or the rest, a deck that's currently out?
Yeah. So if this deck does get hit, I'm probably gonna default back to Pan again. Pan was like the deck I started with most of the time. Yeah, like going into like playing competitively with Pan, so it definitely will probably be Pan. It just there's a lot of new red-green stuff coming out, looks super fun, offering and all the other stuff. But yeah, I think it will probably be Pan.
Awesome, man. Any final things you want to say about the event, or any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, so shout out to Zap for all the Broly players I had to play against. Also shout out to my team, Card Game Coliseum. Not sure if you can put the link down below at the thing.
Yeah, I can do that. Yep.
But yeah, shout outs to them. Shout out to Henry Doe, Max Burton, my sponsors. Shout out to all the people who actually like let me all the foils. That'd be like Ryan, Johnny, and also and my sponsors too, obviously. But let's see, anyone else? No, I think that's about it.
Awesome, man. Locke, thanks for being on, and we will see you guys next time.
All right, thank you.